So our next talk in this session is by Dr. Matthias Jurisch from IT Brock Solutions about Pharma Semantic Search.
Okay, yeah, thanks for the introduction. I think I'm going to imitate Edgar as I also can't see my slides and use that microphone. So thanks for the idea, Edgar. Yeah, so this is for the next slide. Okay, perfect. Yeah, welcome to my talk. First, I'm going to quickly show you the agenda. I'm going to start explaining you a bit what Brock's IT Solutions is, because probably most of you have not heard of us in the semantic web context. Afterwards, I'm going to give you a bit of a background and describe the goal of the project that I'm going to present to you. Then I'm going to talk a bit about the technical challenges that we faced when working on the project. And then I'm going to explain the solution for you and tell you a bit about the...
Ach so, und jetzt wieder aufmachen, oder was?
Ah. Thanks a lot. Okay. Yeah, last step, I'm going to tell you a bit about what and how did this help the customer. First of all, yeah, who and what is Brock's IT Solutions? It's a consulting company. So when in the first talk, the consulting problem was mentioned, of course I felt personally attacked because that's my job. Yeah. Just kidding, of course I did not. What do we do? Yeah, we've been founded in 1998 by Hans Christian Brockmann, which some of you might know as he is involved with Sensa. So he's our CEO and he's also involved with Sensa. Originally, our headquarters is in Hanover. We have offices in Hanover, Wolfsburg, Leipzig, and Stuttgart in Germany. And we mostly focus on the verticals, yeah, automotive and manufacturing. So this is where most of our customers are. And a little bit on, and in that area, we mostly do process and IT consulting. We have some research partners, that is the University Leipzig and the DFKI. And we have 4 departments. The first is the IT sourcing management department. Then there is IT architecture and infrastructure. We have IT lifecycle management. And then the area that I am from, that is information management. Information management deals with all kinds of things with knowledge, information. And we are right now mostly focused on linked data and semantic web topics, which is also my background. Okay, who are our customers? As I said, it's mostly automotive focused. So we have VW, we have Porsche, Volkswagen Financial Services, Brose CTEC and ZF, which are also very important in the automotive sector, but we also have other customers. So, for example, we are also working with Siemens and with Merck and the Bundesagentur für Arbeit and Finanzinformatik Technologie Service. Okay, so much about the company. Now let's get into the project that I want to tell you a bit about. To understand that, I first have to tell you a bit about how drug development in the abstract way works. We had some thoughts on that in the previous presentation already by Edgar, right? Which I think is quite nice because that fits very well to what we supported with here. So the drug development process has basically 4 phases before you can sell your product. And it is very long and it is very, very expensive. You start with basic research, so where you get the ideas. Basically, that is what Edgar was talking about. Then you do some preclinical trials. Then you go on with clinical trials. And then you start getting involved with the regulatory process. In the first 3 phases, a lot of data is used, and it's usually some kind of internal data in internal databases. Sometimes knowledge graphs are used. And after that, we get to the regulatory part. This is where you need to write documentation, go to a regulatory body, and then they will look at your documentation and say, okay, that's fine. Or they're going to say, oh, no, there is something missing. We need more documentation, stuff like that. So what is the issue? Sometimes the stuff on the left, so the internal R&D data, and the stuff on the right is not aligned anymore after some time. And when you are some years behind that process, so you did write all of those documents, it will be hard to integrate that data back to each other. So it will be hard to know what kind of products and substances and stuff like that are used where are they registered. And you can imagine this can cause all kinds of problems. So, yeah. And this was basically where we helped our customer. We wanted to do two things, basically. First, we want to recreate that integration. So link back the data that we have in the regulatory domain to the data that we have in the R&D domain. And as we heard, data integration is basically the killer feature of knowledge graphs. What other way to do that than with a knowledge graph? So this is the first requirement. The second part, integrating data is great, and that's important, but users also need to be able to use that data. And that is the second part that we looked into. So we wanted to provide a front end for exploring the data, and this front end should be accessible to users without a technical background. So a Sparkle endpoint is not enough. That leads to two domains of technical challenges, basically. The first is integrating the data from the R&D and regulatory domain, and the second kind of technical challenges is making the data available to the users. Luckily, we did not have to integrate just the plain PDF documents. There was some text pre-processing done before that, and we were able to access semi-structured data, so Excel files basically. However, if you have ever worked with text-mined data, you know that data quality is then always a significant issue. So this is one of the topics that we needed to look into. And also, we wanted to integrate that data with other sources later on, and that should be done in a knowledge graph. Luckily, the substance data and the R&D data we already had, that was already present in a knowledge graph, so a knowledge graph was really a no-brainer in that case, right? And the second part of the challenge, the second technical challenge, was to provide the non-technical users a front end. And we thought the best way to do that would be to use a metaphor they know. And a metaphor they know is everybody uses search engines, so we use the search engine, basically. Okay. So a basic look at the architecture, just a very abstract look. We start with the submission documents, then we get, via text mining, some Excel files, do some data cleansing and linking, and then integrate that in the knowledge graph. Data cleansing and linking is done to the internal R&D databases and to the organizational graph data. Then this data is transported to a search front end that is basically built out of Elasticsearch and SearchKit. Okay, let's have a small look at the data integration. So this was mainly done with standard ETL software. Everyone that has worked with some kind of ETL has probably heard of Pentao. They also have some integration with RDF data. which is not as nice as more sophisticated solutions, but still does the job sometimes. And we also used some Sparky queries to extract the relevant information. And then we stored the result in an RDF graph, in the RDF database. For the search front end, well, we basically built a two-component system with ingestion and then an Elasticsearch with SearchKit in the front. So SearchKit is a really nice way to implement a front end for an Elasticsearch if you ever come across a similar problem. Okay, since I don't have much time left, how did this help the customer? Basically, doing what we did can help in 3 ways. First, it can reduce risk. If you discover, you remember this long process before we can sell a product in the pharma domain. If something goes wrong anywhere, this will cost money. So that is a significant issue, and this is something we want to work around. So that can reduce risk. The second part is cutting costs. If you manually want to connect products and legal entities and stuff like that, then you will have to browse manually through all those files. That costs time. You can cut that. Also, integrating that data with other information, since it's already in a knowledge graph, is going to be very fast. And what you also can do with that solution is you can, of course, filter by different aspects. So you can see what kind of products have already been released in what market and what markets are maybe unexplored. So this will help a lot. Okay, last slide. What did we learn? We learned a bit about data issues in the pharma regulatory process. What the users in the domain need, that is data integration and a simple user interface. How did we do that? ETL tools, a graph database, lots of data cleansing, and standard search solutions. And I told you a bit about why this is useful. So cost reduction and risk reduction mostly. All right, thanks for your attention. If you're interested in topics like that, please feel free to contact me, and I am open for your questions.
Any questions for Matthias?
I'd be interested in your experience with data cleansing. How did you do it roughly? How did it work?
So mostly that is still built on rules. For example, typical problem, you have Gesellschaften mit beschränkter Haftung, GmbH, Aktiengesellschaft, AG, Straße, STR Punkt, Straße with sharp S and double S and stuff like that. All of that, you get around that mostly with rules. I have not seen a way to do this very consistently without doing things like that.
We have time for another question. Maybe I do have one. So in this data cleaning process, were you able to do it all on your own within your team, or did you have to involve also staff from your client?
Yeah, of course we had to talk to our clients. While we gained some expertise in that domain, I am not confident that I can always say which substance is the same as which other substance. So, of course, that is not as easy.
All right. Thanks a lot for your talk.
Yeah, thanks.